So I've been thinking a lot about endings as my rebirthing date edges closer on the 28th. I always take time to do a conscious inventory of the last 365 days that I got to open my eyes to live into another day in this body of mine. And the ritual of unbecoming, that experience of emptiness and fullness simultaneously, of going beyond this void in a sort of spiritual paradox, because the honest truth is that we cannot experience joy and creativity and light being without a sense of safety, and then being willing to experience our darkness, to settle into the still aspects of ourselves. And we could say that this is another rite of passage. I kind of feel like it's a dark night of the soul, or another level of my spiritual awakening, because I have been grieving many endings of things, and I feel like I've been in this grief cycle for millennia. But I don't want to carry certain things into a new cycle of my life, and that finality sunk in as I've sort of let go of beautiful contents of a home that supported me and grew my child, and that she's chosen not to come and live with me in the UK. And I have to find peace with that, and honor her choices, and let go of the death of that dream and grieve for that. And that my divorce is in motion, so that I can energetically cut those ties that bind me to a partner that is emotionally and financially in a trauma bond. And some of the special things have been boxed and are ready to be shipped, and I can end that. And I found, once again, encountered by this destroyer archetype in the details of so many endings, that base panic has arisen again, and that there is this fear, and it's not just energetic death, the fear of a nervous system that's wired to sort of anticipate a very hostile world, but this liminal space of knowing that there is familiarity in this panic, and that it's showing me not a fear of death, but a fear of a life, and what truly living is going to be for me. And in all the thousands of hours of supporting others to create a flexible nervous system, I really am taking a big dose of my own medicine right now, to trust that nobody can take this pain or panic or disappointment or bliss away from me, and that a spoonful of sugar does not make my medicine go down. It feels like a very bitter pill. And yet another paradox, that in a higher spiritual state, we often confuse panic and bliss, because they emerge from the same source. And it is in that emergence of this base fear of a system, so that I can finally face what is preventing me from living in my true nature and living my best life. And in facing this panic and this emptiness, I find that it does transform the panic to bliss, the emptiness to the fullness, that it's simultaneous and it's happening together. And embracing the emptiness, that I can see that it actually isn't empty at all. It's full and empty. It's a both and. And I suppose that sort of spiritual path eventually does allow for all of us to experience a sort of full spectrum of being, and to just simply allow. And it's that allowance that we find at the bottom of the ocean, right, on our knees, comforted by this essential stillness of who we are, and recognizing that the waves of life are simply life, and suffering is to be expected. And if we can just recognize and acknowledge that, we set ourselves free for a new level of purposeful, heart-led living. And that with each one new level, there's going to be a new devil. And my just deepest desire is for you and me, as interconnected beings feeling each other in this human experience where grief and joy are both sides of love, is that we can restore our true nature and repair our relationships with ourselves and each other. So my question is, what are you letting die? And can you give it a sacred send-off, so that you don't have to carry that into your future? And can we together leave behind the need for approval or the endless competition of the ego and the desire to be anything other than what we are? That there's tension between endlessly evolving and knowing how truly minuscule and small we are in the grand scheme of things, and in the releasing and the purging and the purifying. This endless quest that we have to prove ourselves worthy or lovable. It's the releasing, isn't it, of interests, of ways of being, until our mind and our soul can be quiet together. That there are no longer conflicts within ourselves, that self-shredding, that desire to be ordinary, but to bring the spirituality into the ordinary and see how that emerges, because nature is our medicine and the sentient beings are the best therapists that I've ever had. So if you need a gentle reminder, a little more breathing room when grief or loss or the belief that perhaps you're never going to recover is happening for you too, let's just plant our feet together on the earth. And maybe that's walking into a forest or hugging a tree or stroking an animal or letting the ocean waves carry you. And just allowing yourself to notice all these creatures of discontent as they rise to the surface, and then a softening, a mirroring back to you of what truly matters. It's a very simple and organic process that happens within the body to purify and cleanse itself, that can't be forced or rushed. And at first it may feel like torture and torment. For me, it's been a lot of blame and shame and deep regret coming up. And I know that if I can just hold still to be with that discomfort, with all those judgments, they can arise and they create a little bit of space around my woundedness to witness what's painful as it surfaces. And that in itself is how it liberates itself as I'm walking, or I acknowledge the shame, the fatigue, the inertia, the, oh, whoa, I worry about my daughter's cold. Oh, there you are. And oh, sadness, and oh, regret. You're walking with me. And as soon as I say they are with me, I no longer create that separation. There's no longer this consumption of my entire being. And I'm not absorbed with that feeling or identified with it anymore. Quite often our torments in our struggles just need an honest witness for them to begin to kind of loosen that sort of painful grasp of, or that loop of self-shredding. And I find the best place to connect to that inner compassion and forgiveness is in the arms of our great mother and the sentient beings who love us and give so generously to us when we can't find it in ourselves. So I sit or I walk in nature with the animals, and pain is with me, and sadness is with me, and grief is with me. And I know that trees are purifying the air so that we can breathe. It begins to change me. And by the end of it, I'm often emptied out and lighter and reborn to trust and surrendered in a little more faith and grace to pick myself up and keep going. And my nervous system responds to that. It begins to flex and have more capacity to hold all of this, as I know I'm going to go about my day and my night, and more things are going to rise up and process, and that I have a tool. I have a way. I have nature's medicine. I have a source to go to and to be with as the nature within me. And that's a balm for my discontent. And my wish is that we become love as part of nature. When we love nature, we can reset our inner compass to our true nature. And that's healing in all directions. So that's my reminder for you and for myself. Permission to cleanse and purify and forgive and grieve, or just be with, beyond shame, to be with blame. And to just find a wide open space to hug a tree or turn your face toward the sun and just let your sweet body purge itself with what's within and let it go. So be with and see what changes for you. I send you much love.